The morning air was cold outside the city hospital, and the glass doors kept sliding open for workers starting their shift. A few people carried coffee and spoke in tired voices. A security guard named Rafi stood near the entrance and watched the sidewalk like he always did. He expected the usual things like patients arriving late and families walking in with worried faces. He did not expect to see a dog standing still near the doors. The dog was medium-sized and brown, with a narrow face and tired eyes. Its fur was wet and clumped with dirt, as if it had been running through rain and mud for hours. It looked thin, but not weak in spirit. The dog held something in its mouth, wrapped in a torn piece of gray cloth. The bundle was careful and close to the dog's chest, like the dog knew it was carrying something fragile. The dog stepped closer to the doors, sat down, and did not bark. Rafi leaned forward and narrowed his eyes. He thought it might be a piece of food or a stolen bag. Then he noticed the bundle move slightly. His stomach tightened as he walked closer. The dog did not pull away or show anger. It simply looked at him, then looked toward the doors again. At that moment, Nurse Anna walked out from a side hallway. She had been working all night and her shoulders felt heavy. She wanted to go home and rest, but she still checked the entrance as she passed. She saw Rafi standing still and she followed his gaze. She saw the dog and the bundle and she felt a sharp worry rise inside her chest. Anna walked closer, slow and calm, so she would not scare the animal. The dog stayed seated, trembling from cold and effort. Its eyes were wide and bright, like it was holding back panic. Anna crouched down and spoke softly. She did not reach out at first. She watched the cloth and saw the tiny movement again. Anna moved her hands carefully toward the bundle. The dog lowered its head and set the bundle down on the ground. It nudged the cloth forward with its nose, pushing it closer to Anna's hands. The dog's body stayed tense, but its actions were gentle. Anna lifted the edge of the cloth and saw a baby's face. The baby was very small and very still. The skin looked pale and cool. The lips were slightly blue from cold. The baby's eyes were closed and the breathing was weak and uneven. Anna felt her breath catch, and her heart started beating fast. She called out for help in a loud voice. People rushed toward her within seconds. Another nurse named Mira came running, and a doctor named Dr. Kamal followed right behind. Rafi opened the doors wide and waved them inside. Anna lifted the baby carefully, supporting the head and keeping the cloth wrapped to hold in warmth. Mira placed a clean blanket over the baby and pressed it gently around the tiny body. Dr. Kamal checked the baby quickly and spoke in a firm voice. He told them to move fast to the emergency room. Anna walked quickly, holding the baby close to her chest. Mira stayed beside her with the blanket and kept checking the baby's breathing. Rafi followed behind them and looked back to see if the dog was still outside. The dog was following them. It trotted into the hospital as if it belonged there. A staff member stepped in front of it and raised a hand to stop it. The dog let out a soft sound that was not loud, but it carried a clear message of fear and need. The dog did not bite or jump. It only tried to move around the person so it could stay close. Anna glanced back and made a choice. She told the staff member to let the dog stay near the door. She said the dog had brought the baby to the hospital. The staff member hesitated, then stepped aside. The dog moved forward and stopped near the emergency room entrance. It lay down on the floor, eyes fixed on the closed door, and it did not move again. Inside the emergency room, the lights were bright and the air was warm. The staff worked quickly with practiced hands. Dr. Kamal placed the baby on a padded bed and checked the heartbeat. Mira brought warm packs and placed them carefully near the baby, not too hot and not too close. Another nurse prepared clean oxygen support and placed it gently. Anna stood close and watched every small change in the baby's chest. The baby's heartbeat was faint, but it was there. The baby's breathing was still weak, but the warmth began to help. Dr. Kamal asked for the baby's temperature and listened to the lungs. He told the team to keep the baby warm and steady. Anna felt relief and fear at the same time, because the baby was alive, but only barely. While the team worked, Anna noticed something around the baby's wrist. A thin red string was tied there, like a simple bracelet. The string held a tiny folded note, protected by a small piece of plastic. Anna carefully lifted it and held it close to the light. Her hands shook slightly as she unfolded the paper. The note was written in hurried, uneven handwriting. It said that the baby's name was Sammy. It said that the baby was sick and cold and needed help right away. It said that the writer could not bring the baby safely without being stopped. It said the dog's name was Bruno and that Bruno would not give up. It ended with a short line that made Anna's throat tighten. It asked the nurse to save the baby and be kind to the dog. Anna read the note again to be sure. She could feel tears trying to rise, but she kept her face calm for the staff. She showed the note to Dr. Kamal. Dr. Kamal read it and frowned with concern. He asked Anna where the baby had been found. Anna explained what happened at the entrance. She told him the dog had carried the baby wrapped in cloth. She told him the dog had followed them and waited outside the door. Dr. Kamal nodded slowly. He said they would call social services and hospital administration. He also said they would inform the local police, because a baby arriving this way meant something serious. He did not speak with anger. He spoke with careful responsibility. Anna stepped out of the emergency room for a moment. She walked to the door and looked down the hallway. The dog was still there, lying on the floor. Its ears lifted as soon as it saw her. It did not rush at her. It simply watched her face, as if searching for an answer. Anna knelt beside the dog. She could see the dog's paws were scratched. She could see its nose was dry from cold air. She could see the dog's chest rising and falling fast, as if it had been running for a long time. Anna spoke softly and told the dog the baby was being helped. She did not know if the dog understood the words, but the dog seemed to understand the tone. The dog inched closer and rested its head near Anna's knee. Its eyes stayed on the emergency room door. It looked like it was holding itself together by pure will. Anna gently placed her hand on the dog's back. The fur was rough and damp, but the body beneath it was warm and alive. Anna felt a strange respect grow inside her, because she had seen many people freeze in fear, and she had seen this dog move through fear to do something brave. Rafi came down the hallway and lowered his voice. He asked Anna if the dog should be removed. Anna shook her head. She said the dog had earned the right to wait. Rafi looked at the dog again and then nodded. He said he would keep people calm and make sure the dog was not disturbed. Anna stood and returned to the emergency room. Dr. Kamal gave an update and said the baby was responding to warmth and oxygen. Mira said the baby's color was improving slightly. Anna watched the tiny chest rise and fall and felt hope grow, small but real. Then a new thought hit her like a wave. Someone had written the note and trusted the dog to do what they could not. Someone had been desperate enough to send a baby into the cold with only a dog and a torn cloth. Anna realized there was a story behind this moment, a story that had brought the dog to the hospital door at dawn. She realized that the dog might be the only guide to the baby's past. As Anna adjusted the blanket and checked the baby again, she made a quiet promise in her heart. She would help the baby survive. She would also find out who the baby was and why the dog had carried him through the night. Outside the door, Bruno the dog waited without sleep, without food, and without leaving, as if love alone could keep the world from falling apart. Anna stood beside the small hospital bed and watched the baby breathe slowly and carefully. The warmth in the room was steady now, and the soft sound of machines filled the air. The baby's chest moved with more strength than before, and the pale color was slowly changing to a healthier shade. Dr. Kamal nodded and said the baby was stable for the moment. The words gave some relief, but no one relaxed fully. Outside the emergency room, Bruno stayed in the same place. Nurses passed by and looked at him with quiet surprise. Some offered him water, which he drank slowly without taking his eyes off the door. A cleaner placed a folded towel near him so the floor would not feel as cold. Bruno accepted it and lay down again. His body was tired, but his mind stayed alert. Anna walked out again and sat near Bruno. She spoke softly and told him the baby was breathing better. Bruno lifted his head and leaned slightly closer to her. His tail moved once against the floor, slow and careful. Anna felt a strange comfort in his presence. She felt that this dog carried a story deeper than anyone realized. Later that morning, a woman from social services named Noor arrived. She listened carefully as Anna explained everything. Noor read the note again and asked questions in a calm voice. She wanted to know where the dog might have come from and how long the baby had been outside. Anna told her they did not know yet. Noor looked thoughtful and said they would need to understand the past to protect the future. Dr. Kamal suggested checking nearby streets and shelters. He believed the baby had been born recently and had not received medical care. He said the baby showed signs of long cold exposure, but not for too many days. This meant the dog had likely been caring for the baby closely. The idea made everyone pause. Security footage from nearby streets was requested. Rafi helped guide the process. Hours later, they watched the recordings together in a small room. The screen showed a quiet street during the night. Rain fell lightly. Then a shape moved through the darkness. It was Bruno. He walked carefully, stopping often. In his mouth was the same cloth bundle. The footage showed Bruno crossing roads slowly and waiting for cars to pass. It showed him stopping under streetlights and adjusting the cloth with his nose. It showed him sitting beside walls when the rain became heavier. At one point, Bruno stopped near a closed shop and curled his body around the bundle, shielding it from the wind. Anna felt her chest tighten as she watched. The recording continued until dawn. Bruno reached the hospital steps just as the sky began to brighten. He did not hesitate. He walked straight to the doors and sat down. Noor covered her mouth with her hand. She said she had seen many difficult cases, but never this. Dr. Kamal looked down at the floor and nodded slowly. Back in the emergency room, the baby moved slightly. Anna leaned closer and smiled. The baby made a small sound and opened one eye for a brief moment. It was a quiet sign of strength. Anna felt tears rise but kept her voice steady as she spoke to the baby. She told him he was safe now. The baby was given a temporary name tag reading Sammy. Nurses spoke gently around him. The hospital became busy, but this small room held a different kind of silence. It was filled with care and waiting. Every hour mattered. Noor made phone calls and searched records. No missing baby reports matched yet. She said they would continue looking. She also asked about Bruno. She wondered if the dog belonged to someone who could not care for the baby openly. Anna remembered the words in the note about being stopped. She felt that someone had been afraid. That afternoon, Anna noticed Bruno standing up suddenly. His ears lifted, and his body tensed. A man had entered the hallway. He was thin and tired, wearing worn clothes. His eyes moved quickly, and his hands shook slightly. He stopped when he saw Bruno. Bruno froze, then slowly walked toward the man. He sniffed the air and wagged his tail low and fast. The man dropped to his knees without speaking. He buried his face in his hands. Bruno pressed his head against the man's chest. Anna stepped forward carefully. She asked the man if he knew the dog. The man nodded and struggled to speak. He said the dog was Bruno. He said Bruno had been with him for years. He said the baby was his sister's child. The man's name was Adam. He explained that his sister had been sick and scared. She had trusted Bruno more than anyone. She had asked Adam to keep the baby safe, but trouble had followed them. When the baby's condition worsened during the night, Adam knew he could not reach the hospital without being stopped. He said his sister had wrapped the baby and tied the note. She had told Bruno to go. Adam said Bruno had always listened to her. He said Bruno had guarded the baby while Adam watched from a distance, afraid but hopeful. He said when Bruno did not return by morning, he followed and found the hospital. Noor listened carefully and asked questions. Adam answered honestly and calmly. He did not ask to take the baby away. He only asked if the baby was alive. When Anna told him the baby was breathing better, Adam closed his eyes and cried quietly. Dr. Kamal joined them and explained the next steps. He said the baby would stay under care. He said they would help the family properly and safely. Noor said support would be arranged. She said the goal was protection, not separation. Bruno stayed close to Adam, but his eyes kept drifting toward the emergency room door. Anna noticed and smiled softly. She told Bruno the baby was strong. Bruno sat down and rested his head on his paws, finally allowing his body to relax. That evening, Anna stood by the baby again. The baby slept peacefully. The room felt calmer than before. Anna thought about how courage sometimes comes in unexpected forms. She thought about a dog walking through the night, guided only by care and instinct. She knew the hardest part of the story was not over yet, but she also knew that hope had already arrived at the hospital door. The hospital entered a quieter phase as night returned and the lights outside softened. Inside the small room, the baby slept under careful watch, wrapped in clean blankets and gentle warmth. The machines made low steady sounds that felt like quiet promises. Anna stood nearby and watched every movement, feeling protective in a way she had not expected. Adam sat in a chair near the wall and kept his hands folded together. His face looked calmer than before, but his eyes stayed heavy with worry. Bruno lay on the floor beside him, close enough that Adam could touch his fur. Bruno rested but stayed alert, lifting his head whenever a nurse entered or left the room. Dr. Kamal returned with updates and explained that the baby would need several days of care. He spoke in clear, simple words so Adam could understand. He said the baby had been very close to danger but had responded well to warmth and care. He said there was a strong chance the baby would recover fully. Adam listened closely and nodded, holding back tears. Anna noticed how Adam looked at the baby. His gaze was gentle and full of regret. He whispered that his sister had trusted him, and he feared he had failed her. Anna told him that sending Bruno had saved the baby's life. She said courage sometimes looks like letting go when holding on is not enough. Later that night, Noor returned with more information. She said records showed Adam's sister had been living quietly and avoiding attention because of fear. She said there was no sign of harm or bad intent. She said the focus would be on support and healing. Adam lowered his head and thanked her again and again. As hours passed, Anna learned more about the past. Adam shared that his sister had found Bruno years ago injured near a roadside. She had cared for him patiently until he healed. Bruno had stayed with her ever since. When the baby was born, Bruno never left the child's side. He slept near the baby and reacted to every small sound. The bond had grown naturally and deeply. Anna imagined the night Bruno had walked through rain and darkness. She pictured the dog stopping at every sound, protecting the bundle with his body. The thought made her chest tighten. She realized that Bruno had not just followed instinct. He had followed trust. The next morning brought small signs of improvement. The baby opened both eyes briefly and made a soft sound. Anna smiled and called Dr. Kamal. Adam stood up slowly, afraid to hope too much. Bruno also stood and stepped closer, his tail moving gently. Anna held the baby carefully and brought him slightly closer so Adam could see. Adam whispered the baby's name and promised things would be different now. Bruno leaned forward and sniffed the air, then settled back, as if satisfied. Over the next days, routines formed. Nurses rotated in and out. Adam stayed nearby and helped when allowed. He learned how to hold the baby and how to keep calm. Bruno became familiar to everyone in the ward. Staff members greeted him by name. Some brought him food and water. He accepted them politely but never strayed far from the baby. Anna noticed that Bruno seemed to relax more each day. His posture softened. His eyes no longer carried the sharp fear from before. Still, whenever the baby cried, Bruno lifted his head instantly. He remained a quiet guardian. One afternoon, a young nurse asked Anna how she felt about the whole situation. Anna paused before answering. She said she had seen many difficult moments in her career, but this one reminded her why she chose her job. She said it showed how care could come from places people often overlook. That evening, Adam received a message from his sister. She was resting and receiving help. She had been told the baby was safe. Adam read the message slowly and let out a long breath. He held his phone close to his chest and whispered thanks. Bruno watched him and leaned closer, sensing the shift in emotion. Dr. Kamal later confirmed that plans were being made for the baby's future care. He said the hospital and social services would support the family together. He said no one would be rushed. He said healing takes time. Anna watched Adam sit beside the baby and hum softly. The tune was simple and low. The baby responded by settling deeper into sleep. Bruno rested his head near the bed and closed his eyes for a moment. As the night deepened, Anna reflected on how quickly life could change. One night had turned fear into hope. One dog had bridged the space between danger and safety. She felt humbled by the quiet strength she had witnessed. Before ending her shift, Anna wrote notes carefully and checked the baby once more. The breathing was steady and strong. She felt confident leaving for the night. As she walked down the hallway, she glanced back at the room. Adam sat calmly. Bruno lay at his feet. The baby slept peacefully. The scene felt complete in a way that words could not fully capture. Anna knew the story was not finished yet. There would still be challenges and adjustments ahead. But she also knew that the hardest part had passed. The night Bruno walked alone had led to something better. Outside the hospital, the world moved on as usual. Inside, a quiet miracle continued to grow, guarded by human care and a dog who never gave up. The final days at the hospital arrived quietly and without drama. The baby continued to grow stronger with each passing hour. The breathing became smooth and steady, and the small body no longer trembled from cold. Nurses smiled more often when they checked the bed. The machines sounded calm and steady, like gentle reassurance. Anna watched the baby one morning as sunlight entered through the window. The baby opened his eyes fully and looked around for a moment. His gaze was soft and curious. Anna felt warmth fill her chest. She spoke softly and told him he was safe. The baby responded with a small movement of his hands. Adam stood nearby and watched every detail. His face looked lighter now, though the past days had left him tired. He helped when asked and listened carefully to every instruction. He wanted to do everything right. He wanted to honor the trust placed in him. Bruno rested beside the bed, calm and relaxed. His body no longer showed tension. His ears rested naturally, and his breathing was slow. He had finally allowed himself to rest fully. Staff members joked quietly that Bruno had become part of the hospital family. He accepted gentle pats and quiet praise but always returned to his spot near the baby. Noor returned with final updates. She explained that arrangements had been made so the family could move forward safely. Support would continue outside the hospital. She spoke with kindness and clarity. Adam thanked her sincerely. He said he felt hope for the first time in a long while. Dr. Kamal visited later and confirmed that the baby would soon be able to leave the hospital. He explained the care steps and answered questions patiently. He smiled when he spoke about the baby's strength. He said the baby had shown a strong will to live. Anna agreed silently. When the day of discharge arrived, the room felt filled with emotion. The baby was dressed in clean clothes and wrapped in a soft blanket. Anna held him one last time and felt a deep sense of pride. She had seen many patients leave, but this moment felt special. Adam carefully took the baby into his arms. He held him close and whispered promises of care and protection. His hands were steady now. Bruno stood and moved closer, sniffing gently and wagging his tail slowly. It felt like a quiet celebration. Before leaving, Adam turned to Anna. He thanked her for believing in Bruno and for acting quickly. Anna shook her head and said the dog deserved the thanks. She said Bruno had done something truly brave. Adam smiled and agreed. As they walked down the hallway together, people paused to watch. Some smiled. Some nodded quietly. The story had already spread through the hospital, not as gossip, but as something meaningful. It reminded many why they had chosen their work. Outside the hospital doors, the air felt fresh and bright. Adam stepped into the sunlight with the baby held close. Bruno walked beside him proudly. The world looked different now. It felt open instead of threatening. Anna stood near the doors and watched them go. She felt a mix of happiness and reflection. She knew she would remember this day for a long time. She had seen fear turn into hope and trust turn into action. As Adam and Bruno walked away, the dog glanced back once. His eyes met Anna's for a brief moment. There was calm there and understanding. Anna raised her hand gently. Bruno turned forward again and continued walking. The hospital returned to its usual rhythm. New patients arrived. New challenges waited. But something remained changed within its walls. A quiet reminder that kindness and courage can appear in unexpected forms. Anna returned to her duties with a lighter heart. She carried the story with her, not as sadness, but as strength. She knew that when days felt heavy again, she would remember a dog at the door and a baby who survived. Some stories do not end with loud celebration. Some end with quiet steps into the sunlight. This was one of those stories.